He comes to on the floor, and the first thing he registers is the doorway. Junwoo is standing in it, not gloating, not taunting, just watching. Like he's checking the results of an experiment. And then he says it. The person you've been looking for the whole time. It's me. Sejun has been bleeding toward this moment through every fight, every room, every person who tried to slow him down. And the man who arranged all of it was standing in his own gym, introducing himself as a beginner, wearing the right expression, saying please go easy, and waiting. But this moment is still weeks away. It starts here. The classroom doesn't feel like a classroom anymore. One kid has his teeth buried into another student's arm, not in a panic, not by accident. He's biting down and holding, and the sound that comes out of the room is wrong, pure animal. People are frozen at their desks. Nobody knows what to do, and Sejun is watching this like he's cataloging it, because he is. He knows this type. Someone wound up so tight, so used to escalating past any reasonable stopping point, that they've stopped operating on logic entirely. This is what the collection system does to people. It eats them from the inside, until the only language left is teeth and noise. Across the city, Jason is on the phone with Chung-gun, sitting in a parked car outside a warehouse, scoping the building, feeding back what he sees. These two have been on opposite sides before. Jason made sure that ended, and right now, Chung-gun is watching a gap in the perimeter. Manager Kang, outside the warehouse, having a cigarette. Chung-gun's men move fast. Kang doesn't see it coming. 1 second he's outside getting air, the next he's taking punishment in a parking structure that echoes every impact. Professional, deliberate, not a robbery. A message about who's been watching and how long. Kang takes the hits, goes down, and then doesn't break. He's bleeding, his face wrecked, and there's something in his expression that reads less like fear and more like curiosity, like he's absorbing data about whoever authorized this. Jason has been told that Director Kim is the most dangerous person in this entire ecosystem. He doesn't throw that assessment around, and neither does anyone in his orbit. Director Kim isn't loud. He's the kind of operator who sets fires and watches from somewhere comfortable while everyone else burns. The fact that Jason is now coordinating surveillance against him, threading Chung-gun's intel, and Detective Jang's institutional access into a single operation tells you exactly where this is heading. Detective Jang understands immediately that the police machinery can't reach what's actually happening here. The underground exploits exactly that gap, the bureaucratic ceiling, the jurisdictional walls, the inability to touch anything that doesn't produce a clean paper trail. He's frustrated, not naive. He tells Jason's contact plainly, he'll do what he can't do by the book. That's the agreement being formed, quietly, out in the open, where no one's listening. Back at school, the dam breaks publicly. Teachers, parents, a cop. Everyone crammed into a room that was never built for this kind of conversation. Kisiak's parents want to minimize, explain, contextualize. The officer isn't buying it. And then the door opens and Do-hyun walks in, not alone. He's brought someone who was on the receiving end of what Kisiak's collection operation did. Someone who has been quiet, because quiet felt like survival. Do-hyun chose today to stop being quiet. He doesn't deliver a speech. He just stands there with this other student behind him, and the weight of what that means fills the room instantly. Kisiak's parents go pale. Institutional weight is now pointing at Kisiak from a direction he can't charm or intimidate his way past. Sejun doesn't know any of that is happening. He's at a café with Hajin, and the world has gone quiet for a few minutes. She's on her phone losing at some game, making small sounds of frustration. He's watching her more than he's playing. She's recovering, moving carefully, but present and warm, and completely herself in a way that only happens when she's somewhere she feels safe. This moment is the eye of everything, the thing he keeps going back to, the thing that makes the rest of it worth surviving. He tells her he'll be right back, gets up, goes to the bathroom. Manager Kang is already there. He slams Sejun into the wall before Sejun can process what's happening. Suddenly, the cafe and Hajin and the soft lighting are on the other side of a door that might as well be a mile away. Kang is big, experienced, and came here specifically for this. His tone is the kind of calm that people who enjoy this tend to have. Not rage, something colder. He tells Sejun he walked into this voluntarily, and that was a mistake. Sejun doesn't give him anything. He takes the impact and doesn't go down the way Kang expected. What Kang doesn't fully account for is that Sejun has been getting hit by serious people for months. The calibration of what hurts and what merely damages has shifted. He's not okay, but he's not done. The fight bleeds everywhere. Kang is relentless and he's having a good time, mocking while he hits, narrating while he applies pressure, wanting Sejun to feel the distance between them as fighters. And for stretches of it, physically he's right. But Sejun doesn't stop. Somewhere inside, his mind slips. He sees his mother, not a coherent memory, a fragment, a hospital room, her voice. She told him to take care of himself and said it like she was trying to hand him something she knew he wasn't old enough to hold yet. Not long after that, she was gone. Small and certain and immediately permanent. She was a brother to him when he needed someone older to follow, a friend when the days were just days, something warmer when he didn't have words for what he felt. In the specific grief-shaped hole where his mother used to live, she was there too. All of it at once, always. The nightmare version of her appears in his head, bloodied, screaming, asking why he left her alone. That's not a memory. That's the shape of his fear. His brain is running the worst possible version of what already happened, and it won't stop. He snaps back, and then he just goes. Past tactics, past training. He takes hits to land hits, bleeds more than he should, and slowly, by sheer refusal to quit, the math starts to shift. Kang is tired. Kang, for the first time in this encounter, looks like he's dealing with something he didn't fully budget for. Sejun gets on top. He keeps going. Someone says stop. He doesn't hear it. Keeps going until it's Sang-soo, physically in the way, physically pulling at him, and Sejun finally surfaces. Face a mess. Kang is down, and then Sejun says it. Quietly. Not to Sang-soo specifically, not to anyone. It comes out like a conclusion he's been running the math on for a long time and finally arrived at. Killing them, he says, is the best way to protect the people around him. It's not rage, not heat of the moment. It's delivered with the specific stillness of someone who genuinely believes it. And that's what makes it alarming in a way that pure violence never quite was. Because Sejun in a fight is Sejun doing something he was trained for. Sejun quietly concluding that murder is a rational protective measure is something else entirely. The architecture of how he thinks about this has changed, and Sang-soo standing there can feel that shift, even if he can't name it. Sang-soo stopped his hands tonight. Nobody's stopped his head. The underground venue has cameras, booths, the particular quality of a place designed to make violence into content. Hajin walks in when she's not supposed to be there, sees Sejun and what's happening to him and the space it's happening in, and the composure she works so hard to maintain just dissolves. She's begging, stop, please stop, terrified in a way that has layers, because she knows what these rooms are, what they did to her, and now the person she's most afraid of losing is inside one. Sejun grabs a mic stand. Sang-soo gets there first. He puts himself physically between Sejun and what Sejun was about to do. He lost to Sejun. He knows what Sejun is capable of when he decides something. He put himself in the way anyway. The bravest thing anyone in Sejun's world has done in a long time that didn't involve fighting. Later, in a police station holding cell, Detective Jang kills the lights and cameras. Nobody is watching. Jason comes in wearing a hood and carrying a hammer, and what happens next is not a conversation. Kang has already been through the underground's own punishment, the teeth, the room with no witnesses. Now he's getting Jason's version, which operates on different logic entirely, not organizational discipline, personal. Whatever Kang gives up in that cell, Jason comes away with another thread into Director Kim's network. The underground has been treating its own people as disposable, and Jason has been learning how to use that. Jason sits with Sejun and lays it out without theatrics. The kid in the classroom who bit his classmate was drugged. The supply chain runs through Ki-seok Lee, the same boy who ran collection, who existed in the comfortable middle space between bully and errand runner, threading chemical product into the school on behalf of people who don't care what it does to the kids involved. If they stop here, the people above Ki-seok dissolve and come back specifically for everyone around Sejun. Not a threat, a guarantee. The only play that protects Hajin and everyone Sejun has pulled into his orbit is to gather everything, build something airtight, take them all at once. No gaps, no warnings. Sejun listens, doesn't push back. There's something different about how he absorbs this. Not reactive fury, but the stillness of someone who has already decided and is waiting for the right shape to pour that decision into. In a building with a lobby and security and floors full of suits and briefcases, a man moves with the controlled ease of someone who owns the space without advertising it. He steps into the elevator. A vice president is there, and the dynamic calibrates instantly, not by anything said, but by where the weight goes in the room. In the underground, this man is Chairman Han, In this building, he has a title and a subordinate relationship to the man who just stepped in beside him. He adjusts accordingly. The doors close. Downstream from that elevator, a voice on a phone says Young-gon Lee is doing great, that the next stream will feature him, that the match will be especially hardcore. Director Kim's experiment is ready to deploy again. Young-gon gave Hajin the black eye. That was the beginning of him in this story. A face at the edge of the violence, a hand that moved against someone who couldn't defend herself. Director Kim has been working on him since. Pain blocking, threshold manipulation, the conversion of a person into something that absorbs damage without registering it correctly, that fights without the biological breaks that normally tell a body to stop. He is a product. He is the next feature. The fight happens in the school hallway, not in a ring, in a hallway with lockers and fluorescent lighting and the acoustics of a space built for students, now being used for something else. Young-gon comes at Sejun, and the first thing that's apparent is something is wrong with his pain response. He takes contact that doesn't register on his face the way it should. He keeps moving in ways that shouldn't be physically sustainable given what he's absorbing. And he talks, not nervously, analytically. He identifies things mid-fight, Sejun's entries, where he telegraphs, the ankle that doesn't respond evenly on both sides, the blood thinners that mean every cut opens wider than it should. He's reading Sejun the way someone reads a technical problem, not a person. Sejun bites. It's not a tactic. It's instinct. The body pulling on whatever it has when the normal toolkit isn't working. Young-gon notes it almost appreciatively, like a coach making a note. Sejun adjusts viscerally, finds a different angle, goes for the foot. Deliberate, targeted, the kind of move that requires thinking about the opponent's structure, rather than just their guard. The toe breaks. Young-gon's expression flickers. Not quite pain, but something close to acknowledgement. A variable has changed. Sejun finds the opening the broken toe creates and takes it fully. A kick, low, placed with the specific intention of getting through whatever the drugs are doing to Young-gon's pain processing. The groin. Enough force that the chemical insulation doesn't hold. And it doesn't hold. The moment when someone stops fighting through artificial numbness and starts feeling everything they've been taking doesn't arrive gradually. It lands all at once. Every hit that the body registered but didn't report, now reporting simultaneously. Young-gon's face changes. The analytical distance collapses. He is suddenly inside his body in a way he hasn't been since the fight started, and his body has been taking a serious amount of damage. He says it then, not as a confession, not a plea. It comes out the way things come out of someone in enough pain that the filters stop working. He grabbed Hajin by the hair. He knew she couldn't raise her guard. He hit her in the face. He says it with enough detail that it's clear this isn't something he's been troubled by, just a fact he's been carrying without weight, and now it's spilling out because everything else is. Sejun hears it. What happens next isn't a fight move. He gets Young-gon down and drives his face into the floor. Once, and again, and again, and again. 5 times. Same weight, same rhythm, each impact landing with the intention he announces out loud. This is what Hajin felt. The fight is already over. He's trying to transfer something, the exact quality of what was done to her, measured out in impact, given back to the person who did it. Young-gon says, "Help me." The hallway is quiet except for the sound of that. Jason's voice reaches Sejun before anything else can. Not physically present, but present in Sejun's memory the way training lives in the body. He promised. Jason invokes it without cruelty, without authority, just with the steady weight of someone who has been watching Sejun walk toward a line for months, and is standing at the line right now saying, "This is where it is. Cool off. Think yourself again. Any more of this and you won't be able to find your way back from whatever's on the other side." Sejun stops. His breathing is audible. His hands are still. He looks like someone who has completed something. Not resolved it, not finished it, but completed the specific act that was required, and is now standing in the aftermath, figuring out what it feels like. Later, Jason says the thing he has never quite said in all the time he has known Sejun and understood what drives him. It isn't your fault. Not the way Sejun carries it. And then, I'm sure Hajin agrees. He doesn't elaborate. Hajin's name used like that, not as a mission parameter, but as a person whose opinion on Sejun's guilt already exists and is already clear, is the most specific kindness Jason has offered in the entire arc of their relationship. It lands somewhere the fighting doesn't reach. The vice president reviews what happened, the way a product manager reviews a failed prototype. The drug enhancement worked. Pain threshold significantly elevated. Durability above baseline. But the grappling gap was the variable that wasn't accounted for. He calls the results somewhat disappointing. Not alarming, disappointing. Like a test that came back one standard deviation below target. He asks about the next subject, adjusted parameters, and then says it directly. Why not consider Sejun im? He calls him our friend, says it with a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. The boy who has been fighting his way through every layer of this organization is now on a shortlist. Not as a threat to be neutralized, as a resource to be processed. Sejun doesn't know any of this. He's walking through a street market with Hajin, and it's almost Christmas, and she's teasing him about his death wish energy and losing to him at some phone game, and the Christmas tree behind them is lit up, and the whole scene feels like something borrowed from someone else's life. She notices he's dressed up, asks about it. He fumbles. She laughs at him. His hand is still healing and he's still bleeding from things that happened in that hallway. But right now, none of it is visible because she's here and the snow hasn't started yet. And this is the version of things he keeps fighting to get back to. Snow starts falling. Sejun asks Hajin if they're best friends. She laughs at the question, like it's the most ridiculous thing he's ever said. He takes her hand. The series holds on that. Two people standing in falling snow and doesn't comment on it, doesn't push meaning onto it, just holds the image. It's the first time it has simply allowed something good to exist without immediately cutting to something terrible. It won't last, but for this moment, it's real. At the gym a while later, a new person walks in. He introduces himself as Junwoo, just moved to the area, started learning jiu-jitsu not too long ago. Warm, easy, takes up exactly the right amount of social space to feel unthreatening. He mentions he's been learning from watching Sejun, says please go easy. The gym takes him at his word. They start rolling. Within the first exchange, it's obvious something is wrong with the math. Junwoo moves like someone who has been doing this for years. Weight distribution, balance control. The specific patience of a grappler who knows where the body's leverage points are and how to exploit them before the other person has finished their entry. Sejun notices. The gym notices. Junwoo puts Sejun down cleanly, and the room goes quiet. That wasn't a white belt doing something accidentally right. That was a professional choosing how much to show. Junwoo asks Sejun for a sparring session with no rules, somewhere with no one watching. Sejun agrees. They go. The no-rules session is a clinical assessment dressed as a fight. Junwoo is not competing. He's measuring. He controls Sejun's balance, redirects his weight, takes him down, repeatedly with the economy of someone who has already mapped every gap on the map. Sejun adapts, pushes, finds moments. They're not enough. Junwoo applies a choke and holds it past the tap, past what a training session should allow. Sejun goes out. When he comes to, Junwoo is in the doorway. He looks at Sejun with an expression that isn't quite satisfaction and isn't quite curiosity, something between the two, clinical at the edges. And he says, the person you've been looking for the whole time. It's me. Hajin arrives at the gym. Junwoo is there, and he tells her his name. Not Han Junwoo, the other name, Chairman Han. She already knows what that name means. The way her body responds, no collapse, no scream, just a specific kind of stillness. Tells you she has been carrying the weight of that name for a long time. He came to this gym, introduced himself as a beginner, sparred with Sejun for weeks, choked Sejun out in a room alone, and did all of it while already being the person who set the events that destroyed Hajin's year in motion. The distance between who he appeared to be and what he actually is, compressed into one sentence, delivered to her face. Soo-hyun closes her own operation in parallel. Her captive has been providing what she asked for: the drug supply chain, the network structure. She delivers her terms with the efficiency of someone who has no patience for renegotiation. He feeds her intel on Director Kim, stops working against Sejun, or she does what she's capable of doing with everything she knows about his situation. He agrees. Soo-hyun now has an active informant inside Director Kim's drug operation. The counter-operation has a nerve ending inside the thing it's trying to destroy. Jason sits across from Chairman Han. The conversation is not long. He tells Han that if he keeps inserting himself into everything that has ever mattered to Sejun, he will make sure Han's future ceases to exist in any recognizable form. Without raising his voice, the only reason Han is alive right now is because of Sejun. Not any protection Han has, not any calculation Jason made about risk, purely because of Sejun. Han says please, agrees to release someone he had been holding, agrees to drop the detective involvement, stay out of their way. It takes about as long as it takes to order coffee. On a rooftop somewhere, Sejun sits with Hajin, and the conversation goes places their conversations haven't gone before. He tells her that sometimes the urge to resist feels like it just pulls everyone around him into danger that isn't theirs to carry. He says it like a confession. She listens. Then she tells him that because of what he did, people being crushed by the same system got out. Do-hyun got out. People who were bullied found someone standing between them and the thing doing it. She says someone told her once that there are people with a strong and righteous heart who can stand up to things that would break anyone else, and that those people change what's possible for everyone around them. She tells him that's him, that she made up her mind the day she understood this to rise above everything that had been done to her and keep going. She leans her head on him. He doesn't move. Whatever the relationship between them has been called or not called, in this moment it has a shape that doesn't need a label. Chairman Han makes a phone call. The line goes to the drug manufacturing warehouse, Director Kim's operational ground. The physical site of everything the counter-operation is trying to reach. Manager Kang picks up. He's already out of prison, already back inside the organization's infrastructure. Han tells him what's happening, that Jason is there. Jason is already inside the building. He walked straight in, black hat, no announcement, into a space Han told him specifically to stay away from. He ignored that, not carelessly, deliberately. The same message he sent in the prison cell, now delivered to the operation's own ground. There is nowhere you run that I cannot walk into. Kang listens on the phone and something in him changes. Not fear, the opposite, because this place is outside all legal protection. No cameras flagging what happens here. No jurisdiction that reaches these walls. No consequences attaching to whatever occurs between two people in a space that officially doesn't exist in any way the law can touch. Every other time Kang has been in the same orbit as Jason, there were limits, structures, things that constrained what either of them could actually do. Not here. He tells Han he's truly, seriously excited right now. Not a threat, not posturing, the genuine anticipation of someone who has been waiting for exactly this situation. A place with no rules. Jason standing in it. Kang already there. Jason doesn't leave. The board has shifted in every direction at once. Chairman Han was inside Sejun's training space and now knows exactly where Sejun stands, physically, tactically, as a potential subject for what the vice president is planning. Soo-hyun has a nerve inside Director Kim's drug network. Detective Jang's legal avenue is constrained by Jason's own deal with Han, and Manager Kang, damaged and rebuilt and running entirely outside the law, is excited in the specific way of someone who has finally been given permission to stop holding back. Hajin is still recovering. Sejun's hand is still healing. The snow from the street market is already days behind them, the kind of memory you hold carefully because good things in this story have a short half-life. The underground doesn't pause for any of it. It absorbs, records, moves the pieces that need to move. But Jason is inside the warehouse, and Manager Kang is excited, and neither of them has anywhere left to pretend to be going. Jason went into that warehouse knowing exactly what he was walking into, and he walked in anyway. Kang is outside the law, outside the cameras, outside everything that has ever kept this clean. Whatever Jason has been building since the prison cell, the surveillance, the deals and the threats, and the threading of every network from the outside in, it all lands here, in a room with no witnesses, against a man who has been waiting months for permission to stop pretending there are rules. The vice president is already looking at Sejun's file. The experiment isn't over. It's just changing subjects.